Hello, everyone. My name is Anique Hamelink, and I'm a PhD student in the Netherlands at the University of Amsterdam. And I would like to let you know a bit about my project about dress and identity, which is titled now Clothing, Cultural Innovation and Gender in the Western Roman Empire. So a little bit about my background. I did a bachelor's in archaeology at Leiden University, also in the Netherlands. And following that, I did a master in ancient history at Leiden University. So I have a background in both archaeology and ancient history. During my time as a student at Leiden University, I was also employed as a professional reenactor at the open air museum called Archeon, also in the Netherlands, in both the department of the prehistoric era as well as the Roman era. And since 2018 until 2022, so I still have some time, I have been conducting my PhD project at the University of Amsterdam. So the area and time period of my research is the Western Roman provinces of the Roman Empire from 50 BC to about 400 AD. These are approximate dates. And it encompasses the modern countries of the United Kingdom, Belgium, the Netherlands, the western part of Germany, and the northern half of France. And this is because this period and this area are known to have had very intensive contacts before the Roman period and also during the Roman period on the level of cultural, societal, social, and trade interactions. And this kind of shared cultural sphere, social sphere, is also expressed at some point by the use of certain types of clothing shared across this area. So what I study is funerary monuments, which have inscriptions, but which also have a depiction of the deceased. This may be one person, many people, like a family, or a scene in which slaves and masters figure. It's very varied. And so this includes inscriptions, so text, art, and also textiles and all metal or leather remains that we have of clothing, which compared to what Carina is dealing with in Austria is a little less, but we still have some very interesting finds that we can research. So some of the questions I ask of my source material are how the integration of this area of Europe within the Roman Empire affected the bodily representation, meaning their dress, including hairstyles, clothing, footwear, jewelry, of the people who lived there. So why did men and women in the provinces adopt, adapt, or reject various new dress practices? How did they relate them to their own society and their pre-existing forms of dress, which they already had? And its relation to cultural, ethnic, and gender identities. So in short, like, what did people wear, what changed, and what did this clothing mean to them? And within my research, I look at differences over time and differences and similarities between regions within this larger area of Western Europe. So what are the differences between, for example, what happens in Britain and what happens in the Netherlands and Belgium? So my research focus lies on the different types of innovations that we see in dress forms in this period. And the first of which is the adoption of dress from Roman Italy. You might be familiar with garments such as the toga. And along with people from Italy moving to these provinces, either as soldiers, either as commanders, or people in public office, and their families or traders came their clothing and their textile production centers and trade. So what happens with adopting of new dress? And then the second type of innovation we have is that people combine elements from two different dress traditions, which is the Roman dress tradition, which is new in this area, and their local pre-existing forms of dress. And the third type of innovation is innovation in local dress. So they already had a dress tradition and they start to innovate in this period. So let's take a look at some examples so you have an idea of what I do. The first thing we see, of course, is the most familiar item of Roman clothing, which is the toga, which we see adopted sometimes in the provinces in Western Europe. This is an example in which we see, in this case, the Emperor Tiberius in Nijmegen, a city in the Netherlands. We also sometimes find the toga being worn by people of local origin. So what you see here is called the synthesis, which is a Roman dinner garment, which was adopted in certain forms in the northern provinces. It was particularly popular among soldiers at first, but we see, for example, in Britain that it is also women who wear this type of garment in this setting of the Roman dinner. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. And a third category of this new dress that is being adopted from Roman Italy is Roman jewelry and hairstyles. So, for example, I can point it out with my cursor. You can see this woman wearing Roman hairstyle, this woman wearing a slightly different Roman hairstyle, combined with a necklace, which is also Mediterranean in style, kind of like my own pearl necklace. So we see these people in the provinces adopting dress from Roman Italy. What also happens with this type of dress is that people, not all people adopt the same forms of Roman dress and not at the same time. So, for example, on the left, we see a woman wearing Roman dress, which you can tell from the mantle, which is called a palla, which she has wrapped over her head and across her body. And she's also wearing a belt, which is also something very common in Roman dress. But her husband, depicted next to her, is wearing a local form of dress, which is specifically not Roman. So here we see a difference between the genders. And if you go to the other image, which is from Austria, you see the exact opposite happen. So here it is the women who keep on wearing their pre-Roman dress, their local form of pre-existing dress, which you can see from the hat she is wearing and the brooches, which keep her dress together, kind of like what Gavina showed. And you see the man wearing a form of Roman dress, the toga. So you can see that these innovations and their adoption differs per region according to gender, for example. So now we come to another form of innovation, which is mixing Roman and local elements, local items. So of course you can adopt an entire outfit and present yourself fully with Roman hairstyles in a Roman toga. But what you can also do is take one or two elements from Roman dress culture and mix it with some dress forms that you had already in this local context. So here on the left, for example, we see a woman in a Roman mantle, which the palla again, draped across her body. I've highlighted in red, but she is wearing a local native form of hat. So she's combining two dress cultures on one body. And the woman on the right is wearing what is called Gallic dress, which is again a local form of dress, not Roman, but she is holding a fan to cool herself, which is a distinctly Mediterranean item, which was adopted in the north as a kind of elegant accessory. So we'd see these people do all kinds of things. There's a lot of variety here. And then we have the third form of dress innovation that we see in this area, which is innovation in local pre-existing forms of dress. What we see here is called Gallic dress, which is called after the province of Gaul, which was modern France, approximately in Europe. And it was worn there. It's a type of tunic that is very wide. I have one behind me as a reconstruction. It's very wide, it has wide sleeves, and it is worn without a belt. And what we see here that is a very local type of garment is, in some cases, we now have 3 funerary monuments and 1 fragmentary recovered tunic in textile, in wool, recently discovered, that have been decorated with a very Roman type of textile decoration, which is called clavi, which means that there are 2 red stripes, usually red, can be any other color, but usually red, going all the way down the tunic. You should see this tunic as being, you have to fold it in half. So this is the neck slit, and this is how it is woven, and then you fold it in half, like this, and then you have the sleeve over here, and this is the body, and then the head popping out here. So you have 2 red stripes going from the shoulder to the hem. And this is a very typically Roman type of decoration, but we find it here on a form of local dress. So what they did is they blended a local form of tunic with a Roman type decoration, creating basically 2 dress cultures melting and blending in one garment. So this is the type of like diversity and the type of innovation that we see happening in this period, in this region, that I'm very enthusiastic about, and I'm very happy to be able to study. What I'd like to do is, well, first, thank you for your attention, for listening to my presentation, and saying that I look very much forward to being able to exchange thoughts and ideas and your expertise with all of you in the Euroweb network. And I'd like to take just a short bit of time to put the following request to you, which is that I would very much love to be able to exchange thoughts, or maybe have like a true cooperation on these hats that you see illustrated here. So over here, and over here. You've seen this one before, because I'd like to very much get into like, how are these hats made? How are they worn? What kind of like visual effects do they have? How do they communicate with the rest of the clothing? And I would very much like to find someone who would be interested in doing this kind of like idea exchange with me. It does not matter if you do not do anything with the Roman period in general. I would be happy to work with anyone studying the 19th century to like 3000 BC. I would just be very interested in other people's perspectives on this as specialists in textiles. So if you feel this would be interesting, please contact me via my email, which is on the screen, a.hamelink@uva.nl. Thank you very much for your time.